Mr. Chair, we are now live.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Town of Ajax Committee of Adjustments meeting for today, Wednesday, January 31st, 2024. This meeting of the Committee of Adjustments is being held electronically and also live streamed on the internet pursuant to the Committee of Adjustment terms of reference and meeting procedures. All regular practices and procedures of the committee will continue to apply during this electronic meeting. If we encounter any technical difficulties, we may take a brief recess while they are resolved, and we thank you in advance for your patience, and will now proceed with the meeting. I'll now like to call this meeting to order at 7:07 p.m. I'd like to begin this meeting by acknowledging that the land on which we gather is situated within the traditional and treaty territory of the Mississaugas. More specifically, the Mississaugas of Scugog Island First Nation, signatories of the Gunshot Treaty of 1788, and the Williams Treaties of 1923. This land is and will continue to be home to the Indigenous peoples. Let us acknowledge the mistakes and traumas of the past through authenticity and support truth and reconciliation. Let us engage and celebrate Indigenous communities by being leaders of action and acknowledging the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples and the Truth and Reconciliation Commission's recommendations towards truth and reconciliation. Let us keep these principles close as we continue towards truth and reconciliation as we move forward with kindness and respect as a community. At this point, on behalf of the Town of Ajax and the Committee of Adjustments and town staff here, I'd like to share our deepest condolences to the Hayes family regarding the loss of Brian Hayes. Brian, for those of you that don't know, served on the committee during 2023. He unfortunately passed on in December, just a short few weeks ago, and he will be dearly missed. I now ask that we take a moment of silence in honor of Brian. Thank you. And to ensure that we have appropriate representation and quorum for these meetings going forward, I would also like to welcome and introduce a new committee member, Lori Roberts. Lori previously served on the committee for 2 terms of council and served on the Durham Region Land Division Committee during 2023. I appreciate you joining us back, Lori. Now, before moving on to the application portion of this meeting, I'd like to confirm whether there are any disclosures of interest from members of committee. Okay, seeing none, then I will look for a motion for an adoption of maintenance from our December meeting. Bernadette?
Mr. Chair, I'm prepared to make that motion.
Okay, thank you. Can we get a seconder? Ken, thank you. Any comments or discussions on the motion? Okay, seeing none, then I'll look for a vote. And the vote has been carried. Thank you. I'd like to now get into just covering off the mandate of the committee. The committee is bound by the Planning Act to assess each application based upon its ability to meet 4 tests: that the application is minor in nature, it is desirable for the appropriate development or use of the lands, and finally is in keeping with the general intent and purpose of the official plan and the zoning bylaw. The process for tonight's meeting will be conducted in the following manner. The applicant or the agent will be called upon, and at their option, they may provide a brief description of the minor variance application that they have applied for. The committee members may ask questions of the applicant and or agent, after which anyone with direct interest in the application will be given the opportunity to speak either for or against the application. Once a motion is put forward by a committee member, there will be no further input from the applicant or anyone else having interest in the application. After a decision is made, a notice will be sent out and there will be a 20-day appeal period. The decision of the committee this evening may be appealed to the Ontario Land Tribunal or the OLT by the applicant or a specified person or public body, as outlined in the Planning Act. Please note that third-party appeals are not permitted. After that 20 days have lapsed, the decision will become final and binding. If a building permit or other approvals are required, they may be filed during the appeal period of 20 days. However, no permits or approvals will be issued until the appeal period has lapsed and the decision becomes final and binding. A respectful decorum during this evening's proceedings is expected of all present at all times. I'd like to now take a quick moment to introduce you to the committee members presiding over the procedures this evening. Starting from my furthest right, I have Bernadette Santiago, Lori Roberts, Ken Elliott, Tomas Baca, myself, the Chair Wasif Ahmed, and to my left, continuing, we have Sarah Moore, who's the Legislative Specialist with the Town of Ajax, Eric Simpson, Senior Planner and Secretary Treasurer of the Committee of Adjustments for Town of Ajax, and Josh Estrella, a Senior Planner with the Town of Ajax. We'll now move to the application portion of this evening. And the first application that we have is A3123 for 1350 Church Street North. And the applicant is Social Professional Engineers. The application is seeking a minimum landscape buffer of 3 meters adjacent to a Type B arterial road, Church Street North in this case, whereas the zoning bylaw requires a minimum landscape buffer of 9 meters adjacent to a Type B arterial road, a maximum commercial gross floor area of 1,600 square meters, whereas the zoning bylaw permits a maximum commercial gross floor area of 1,400 square meters, a maximum building height of 5 stories or 22 meters, whereas the zoning bylaw permits a maximum building height of 11 meters, a minimum setback from the interior side lot line, which is a south property line in this case, of 4 meters for an underground parking structure, whereas the zoning bylaw requires a minimum setback of 7.5 meters. And finally, a minimum setback from the rear lot line, which is the west property line in this case, of 5 meters for an underground parking structure, whereas the zoning bylaw requires a minimum setback of 9 meters. Eric, can I please confirm that notice was served on this application, and were there any responses received?
Mr. Chair, notice was served. 3 items of correspondence were received, 2 of which were in opposition, and all 3 were provided to the committee.
Thank you, and they were. Perfect. And do we have the applicant here this evening? Somebody representing the application A3123 from Social Professional Engineers?
Yes, Chair. I'm just going to call Henry right now and put him on speaker. Okay, Henry.
Good evening, Mr. Chairs and committees. Okay, my name is Henry Ma. I'm representing Social Professional Engineer on behalf of the owner 2504594 Ontario. To explain about this project. So the proposed development is located at 1350 Church Street North, which is a northeast corner of a Church Street and Hearst Drive. And the development consists including like 78 residential units with a ground floor commercial area, and this is an L-shaped building and just at the corners of the Church Street and Hearst Drive. And the developments also have 80 surface parking spaces and 1 level of underground parking spaces. And Mr. Chair, you already mentioned about the relief we are requesting, so I'm not. So this is all about this project.
Okay. Thank you, Henry. Henry, the committee here this evening also has a recommendation or a staff report from the Town of Ajax Planning that is recommending approval of the application. Have you seen this report?
Yes.
Okay, great. And as such, I'm just going to quickly read out that the report is recommending approval subject to the following 3 conditions: that the owner applicant obtain approval of the site plan application SP 422 and enter into a site plan agreement with the town to the satisfaction of the town, or this decision shall become null and void; that the minimum setback variances shall only apply to the structure located below grade, i.e. the underground parking structure in this case, and that the owner applicant obtain all necessary building permits from the town's building services section, or this decision shall become null and void. Are you familiar and in agreement with these conditions, Henry?
Yes.
Okay. Then I will open it up to the committee here for any questions for the applicant about the application. Go ahead, Lori. Button again.
Thank you. Thank you. I just had a question for staff. In the report, it mentions that there's going to be revised material sent. Does that revised material have any impact on whether this application is approved tonight or not? I believe it, I'll have the page that it was, I think it was on page, let me scroll to it, sorry. Page 2. And there was, in the third paragraph, I believe it says that, second paragraph,
Oh, so.
the applicant is in the
Yeah.
process of preparing.
Yeah, so through the chair, that's not going to change the variances at hand tonight. That just means in order to proceed with the site plan approval process, they still have to address technical comments from staff. So there's going to be revised materials in that regard. It wouldn't change the overall design or proposal that's before us.
Okay, thank you very much. And through the chair, can I ask another question?
Of course.
If I can ask, I'm not sure if staff knows this or the applicant, the properties that are going to be on Cornelius, do they front or back to Church Street?
Sorry, Cornelius,
I
where exact, I just got to pull up the map to see that one.
Don't see Cornelius on the
Cornelius, yeah, I don't see the Cornelius.
So on, if this is north, south, east, west, it's on the east side of Church Street,
East side of Church Street.
below Cork.
Oh, there we go. Parallel to church.
Oh, yes, I see it.
Sorry.
So, sorry, just repeat the question again? Those homes
Do
would...
those properties, are they fronting or backing to Church Street?
They're fronting, they're double front townhomes,
They're
so the
double
ones that kind of have two front yards. So yeah, the kind of principal front yard would face church, which would face the development.
Okay, thank you very much.
Anybody else on committee? Thomas?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, a question for the applicant. You are proposing 1,600 square meters of commercial space. That's 17,000 square feet, which is quite a sizable commercial area. How many parking spaces are you proposing to have dedicated for the parking, for the commercial tenants and customers?
80 parking spaces for the service.
Sorry, Henry, can you repeat that?
Sorry, 80 service parking spaces for commercial.
Was that 80?
80.
80. Okay, thank you.
To town staff, if I may do a quick follow-up, what is that in terms of ratio, and is that at the right ratio level, I would assume? That's why there's no minor variance for that?
Yeah, so the whole proposal complies with the minimum parking requirements of the zoning bylaw. So it's kind of a blended rate for the commercial, and then it's our resident parking rate and our visitor parking rate, and the whole proposal meets it and it has a couple surplus.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Lori?
Sorry, in regards to one of the public comments that we received, they make comment to the underground parking and for the variance to only be applied to that. I just kind of wanted a little more of understanding what that underground parking, what that means and how that relates to the neighboring property.
So the proposal is seeking reductions in setbacks just as it relates to the underground parking. So if we go to, so the south property line, which we consider the interior side lot line, they're seeking 4. The actual building is set back, and I can pull up the site plan. Sorry, lots of figures here. So this is the south property line here. So the building, I can't see exact, but it's between 15 and 20 meters is the actual building setback. It's just the underground is right about here, which is where there's a landscape buffer. And then similarly, this is the rear lot line, so the west lot line. They're seeking the variance for the reduced setback, which I believe is 5 they're seeking. However, the actual building is all the way over here, so it's like over 30 meters.
So through the chair, I can, that one public comment, their concerns are satisfied by the fact that the building is?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, they just wanted to ensure that if those variances were to be permitted, that it doesn't mean the actual building above ground could also be to that. So that's why staff included that one condition, that it shall only apply to underground structures.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Okay, Ken? Oh, sorry, I lost you. I apologize. Go ahead, Ken. Sorry.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I'm looking for clarification as to the driveway access points for the property. Are they from Church Street, or are they from Side Street, or are they from the Hearst Drive?
Through the chair, so there's 2 site accesses proposed. There is a right-in, right-out access that's proposed at Church Street on the screen here, which is south of the Hearst intersection. And then there is a full move access that's proposed off of Hearst Drive, so at the most western limits of the site.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions from committee members? Okay, seeing and hearing none. Is there anyone in attendance here to speak either for or against this particular application? Again, we're on application A3123 for 1350 Church Street North. Sure, come on up, sir. If we can just start by getting your name.
Okay. Chair and committee members, thank you very much for taking the giving me the opportunity to speak. My name is Earl. I am one of the residents on Hearst Drive, and I am speaking against for some of the proposal as part of as submitted by Social Engineering.
Okay, sure. Can you tell us a little bit? I'll get your name again.
Earl.
Earl. Okay.
Yes.
Sorry about that, Earl. Okay, so if you can tell us what is it that you're objecting to?
So I apologize. I only got the staff report today, and I was just reviewing, and I do share some of the other comments that the other committee members have. And one of the ones I just wanted to raise right now is just the new proposal of the entrance. So I will admit that the entrance, based on what is shown, is literally actually going in towards my driveway. So right now, Hearst Drive does not, based on the traffic that we have, the traffic on Hearst Drive, I don't think it could support what is being proposed. Was a traffic study provided for this? Because right now, currently, there's parking permitted, on-street parking on the housing side, but not on the other, where the proposed house would be. And I don't think the road widths would support the commercial with the residential portion of the building versus what we have, because currently all of our properties are fronting towards
Hearst.
fronting Hearst Drive.
Okay, so I don't know, Eric, if you're sharing the screen, but if you can go to just page 7 of the report. So Earl, the transportation services, as part of the mandate, whenever a report comes out, does get an opportunity to review the report, and they will look at those items. And I think you just passed it. And on page 7, we'll pull it up in a minute. There were no concerns identified by transportation services. But you do bring up a question, in my mind at least, so if I can just pause you there for a second, I'll ask town staff. Staff, if you can confirm that the commercial, I know this question was brought up earlier about the entrance and exit points from the property. For commercial traffic, would that be limited to Church, or would that come in through Hearst as well? Do we know?
The specific uses wouldn't be limited to either access. It would be any user of the site could use either one. There was a traffic study completed It looked at the traffic that would be generated from the site as well as existing traffic. It looked at the proposed accesses in terms of sight lines and how they line up with the roads. So there's no issues identified with that. It does indicate that the existing intersections could handle the addition of the development-related traffic.
Okay. That's the expert opinion, Earl.
Okay. Sorry, and also with regards to the height of the property. So when we originally purchased our property, we were told it was a certain height. I just wanted to get a clarification of the definition of a minor variance, because right now we're practically doubling the height. I am pro residential mixed use, but I believe that just want to get clarification with regards to the definition of a minimum or a minor variance versus what's being put forth or proposed.
Right. I know there are other commercial buildings in other areas that do operate in a venue or area very similar to this across the town, where buildings are a lot larger. Yeah, I'm not sure if you're familiar with, like, Harwood and Rossland has a pretty massive building. I don't know exactly how many stories. I would guess maybe 10 or 12 minimum, whereas this one's a 5-story, and there's houses right behind it. It's not just commercial. So I know there are precedences for things like that as well. So, but I'll look to town staff to see if they want to comment anything further on that as well.
Through the chair, I can just comment on the minor nature aspect. We don't specifically look at it from a numerical perspective. You can still argue something meets the test of a minor variance if, it's meeting the intent of the official plan and zoning bylaw and can be seen as a appropriate development. Whether or not that means the number is a little larger or, relatively a lot larger than the actual permitted maximum. However, the thing to keep in mind with this is that the lands are designated in the official plan to permit up to 6 stories. So it's really a matter of the zoning that's in place, which is like the lower level from the official plan, hasn't been updated to reflect that. So that's the need for the variance related to the height.
Oh, thank you. And with regards to this type of construction, so I know when we originally purchased our properties, our residential properties, we were told that we were going to have a low-rise commercial. So what we were told would be similar to what's currently at the plaza, because it was Coghlan Homes, and they mentioned that what was planned there was something similar to Salem and Kingston Road, so that sort of plaza look. But with regards to the timing of when this is being built, I'm not sure how I would feel that this is more of a major construction rather than a normal typical low-rise versus residential construction, that this might do a lot of disturbances within the area, as well as it being 5 stories. You would need to now erect a crane. Now with regards to a lot of residential homes, has there been a construction management plan with regards to this?
Through the chair, so through any major development like this, through our site plan approval process, which is the process, kind of a technical process that's required before you can go to the building permit stage, we're gonna look at all those kind of details. There would be a detail, we haven't received it yet because it comes at a later stage when the developer has their contractors on board and whatnot, but there would be a detailed construction management plan. It looks at the crane swing. It looks at if things like shoring are required and if there's encroachments out of that. We have staff that, if it were to be built and it was during construction, that are out on site inspecting, dealing with complaints as they come up. So it's a very comprehensive thing that we look at.
Okay, thank you. Just take a look here. No further questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Earl. Thanks for coming up. Okay. And I'll look again one more time to the committee to see if there's any other comments or discussion. And if not, then I'll look for a motion. just while I wait for that recognition, can I just maybe confirm one more time that there's nobody here besides Earl to speak either for or against the application?
That's correct, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Go ahead, Laurie.
I kind of sort of forget the script on what to say, so bear with me if I don't say everything properly, but I would like to recommend approval of application A31-23 as it is minor and meets the 4 tests and subject to the, I believe it was 3 conditions as outlined in the staff report.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Motion heard. Seconder? Ken? Thank you. And any discussion on the motion? Okay. If not, then I'll look for a vote. And the motion this evening has been carried for application A3122. Thank you. And it'll be subject to the appeal period, of course, that we mentioned at the top. Okay, and that, I believe, was the only application on our agenda this evening, and we'll now move into other business. So is there any other business from any members of the committee or town staff? Okay, seeing none, then I will look for a motion to adjourn. Ken?
Mr. Chair, I would move that we adjourn this meeting of January 31st.
Okay, thank you. Can we get a seconder? Tomas? Okay, awesome. So second by Tomas. And any discussion on the motion? Okay, and then we'll look for a vote. And the motion to adjourn has been carried. Thank you.